If you're like the rest of us, you've probably encountered many people in your lifetime, you know, those stubborn folks who, no matter how many facts you give them, no matter how much evidence you produce, no matter how many witnesses you bring to them and experts, they keep saying, no, don't believe you. Well, those are climate deniers, okay? And you get to that point where you just want to get a 2x4 and just say, maybe this will get through. Say, whack them on the head or something. It doesn't work, but it's a feeling you get. Well, in today's video, we're going to give you a 2x4, which will help you deal with climate deniers. And regrettably, there are even people who agree that climate is an issue, is a problem, who will ignore the facts, will not take a look at the evidence, and come to conclusions like, we need nuclear power to deal with the climate crisis. Or you'll have some people who will say, we should have an all-of-the-above energy policy because everything should be on the table. And this 2x4 rule that I'm about to present to you is going to explain the reasons why both of those are incorrect. So what is the rule? Very simple. We call it 2x4 because there are 2 constraints that you have to deal with and 4 rules if you're going to effectively deal with the climate crisis in the next 11 years and 4 months that we have left to transform our energy systems. The 2 constraints are time and money. I've already told you we only have, as of this taping, 11 years and 4 months left to follow the IPCC recommendations and totally redo our energy system and our economy. So time is a premium. Money, nobody has infinite amounts of money, but the calculations currently are in the trillions of dollars of what it's going to take between now and mid-century to get off of fossil fuels, get off of nuclear power, and usher in an age of renewable energy. So why not nuclear power? The 4 rules really tell you the reason. If you're going to effectively deal with climate change, you have to take, number 1, the most amount of carbon out of the atmosphere. Number 2, in the shortest amount of time. Number 3, at the lowest cost possible. And number 4 is the one people most often forget. You have to do all that without creating an equally bad planet-threatening situation like nuclear war or nuclear winter or nuclear terrorism. That often gets forgotten. So those are the 4 rules. 2 constraints, time and money, 4 rules, as we just said. Nuclear power fails every one of those conditions, both the constraints and the rules. And for that reason, for anyone who suggests that nuclear power is a way to deal with the climate crisis, we have to ask them to think back to World War II, shortly before, to the Maginot Line in France. The French spent billions and billions of francs creating a wall between them and the Germans, thinking that they were totally safe and that they were being effective. And the Germans just went around it, and the rest is history, as they say. Nuclear power is the energy Maginot Line. The nuclear industry wants us to spend billions and billions of dollars on nuclear plants that are not going to get the job done and are going to fail miserably at the task that they were designed to do, because we can't build them fast enough and in the quantity needed to really take enough carbon out of the atmosphere. Now, what about that second thing that we hear all the time, that it should be an all-of-the-above situation with energy? I would defer to Peter Bradford, who was formerly a member of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in the 1980s, and then later went on to become the Public Services Director of the states of New York and the state of Maine. This guy is no dummy. He's been around the block on the energy frontier, and this is what he says. Those who assert that the problem of climate change is so urgent that we have to do everything, or another popular substitute for serious thinking, seek silver birdshot, they overlook the fact that we can never afford to do everything. The urgency of world hunger doesn't compel us to fight it with caviar, no matter how nourishing fish eggs might be. So spending large sums of money on eloquent solutions, especially those that won't work and that would provide little relief, will diminish what we can spend on more promising approaches. And for 30 years, Nuclear Energy Information Service has been saying renewable energy and energy efficiency are the more promising approaches. So when someone tells you that we need all of the above, ask them if we have enough caviar to fight world hunger. So this is our You Can't Nuke Global Warming program. We instituted this in 1999, If you go to our website, www.neis.org, you'll find an explanation again of these 2x4 rules. And I would also like you to know that NEIS is available to do a much more in-depth presentation on this topic if you'd like to contact us. So, in conclusion, nuclear power is ill-suited to deal with the climate crisis. It'll break the bank, won't get the job done, and all it's going to do is suck up resources that should go to renewable energy. And again, I will defer to my better in reaching this conclusion. This is the former chairperson of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Greg Yatsko, who says this about nuclear power and climate change. From everything I've seen and experienced with this industry, I think it's a fool's errand, and I think it's going to fail the planet when it comes to dealing with climate change, because nuclear is not up to the task. And finally, I think it's important that we acknowledge the current genius on climate change, and that would be Greta Thunberg, a 16-year-old woman in Sweden who's been diagnosed with Asperger's. And this is probably the most sage wisdom of all that we have heard in the last number of years on climate change. We cannot solve a crisis without treating it like a crisis. And if solutions within the system are so hard to find, then maybe we should change the system itself. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you.